And I'm thinking like, no. And I look at Willie is drinking out of the bowl. Basically, I said, we have now seen the 10-year-old Willie, little Willie. This is what he used to do when he didn't wash the dishes and there were no cups. Willie grabbed the bowl and just drank milk or whatever it was out of it, and he did that today.
Okay, you know the saying is, see what had happened was. There's an explanation. I have an explanation as to what happened. I knew this was going to get you guys. I'm come rolling in, and I realized I didn't bring my mug that I usually bring in, fill it up with water, coffee, whatever. And I needed to get some water before the show, so I just go into the kitchen and think I'll just grab a styrofoam cup or whatever we got in there. I searched that place high and low. No cups. Nothing. I can't find anything.
This is not your week.
I know. I lost my hat earlier this week. I had another guy. I had one of my friends from the Predators. I did some voiceover stuff for the Preds today. And he goes, by the way, sorry about your hat. Just dropped it out of the sky. So the word's getting out. It's been a week. So people, I'm glad to know that my Preds family is mourning over the loss of my hat. But now I come in and I need some water, and I'm opening all the drawers. I'm opening all the cabinets. No cups. And we even have one above the fridge in our little break room. It says cups. I open it up. Usually that's where the big stash of styrofoam cups are. None. But there is a box that's not labeled, and it's in the thing that says cups. It's in the cabinet. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm kind of in a hurry. So I'm just grabbing at the top of the box, reaching up, and I pull the top of the box down, thinking that, some styrofoam cups. So, they're light. I'll just catch one coming out, or there's a big sleeve of them. And lo and behold, it's the little individual creamer things. And I almost spilled about 50 of those onto the floor. They came avalanching down from the top. I blocked it just in time. Couple made it through.
That would have added insult to injury.
Oh yeah. So then I had to get creative. I'm like, I gotta have water. Ding! So I keep looking around, and I find these little. It looks like it looks like it is Tupperware. Without the lid on it, and it's
I guess it's
what does this say? Welcome to Pineapple Land.
Is that from Bikini Bottom?
Pliables cup.
Is that from Bikini Bottom?
It's a plastic thing. It's like a mini dog bowl. And I was like, all right, that'll do the trick. Got no other choice. So I went to the little water dispenser, filled it up. I came rolling in the studio, and I was like, hey, you guys like my cup? And you guys just fell out. I go, that's how we're starting the show today.
Hey, it was a good way to start the show, I thought, anyway.
If you would have made a mess with the creamers, I would have just told you to go home.
Oh, man, that would have been a bad sign. That would have been a bad sign. But I now have my cup for the show. I've got to stay with it for the whole show because
it's not a cup, plastic, Willie, but it's not a cup.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's, what are we calling it? A bowl or a Tupperware?
A pineapple bowl. Hence the name.
It's a playa.
Oh, playa. I thought you said pineapple.
Playa, like playa. Beach. Playa, I guess, Spanish for beach.
Okay, so the beach bowl.
It's going to have to do the job for us.
Exactly.
Because we don't want to waste plastic. Plastic's not good for the environment. So just to chuck it and have no use for it, that's no good. So it's going to be the cup. Yeah, it's going to feel like it's had its purpose in life by the end of the show. It's going to hydrate us.
Well, I got some water over here.
Okay.
Albeit a sparkling water. I do have a water over here.
Okay.
So, that's just me.
All right. So with Adam out, we got to log into the text line. This is another hurdle we're trying to jump through here. Meanwhile, the quarterfinals of the World Cup continue. The team that knocked the USA out, Belgium, who just took it to the United States from the start. There was the meltdown, all the fallout from that. I don't know if you guys have paid attention, but man, are they shredding? A lot of discourse. Christian Pulisic is certainly not the most popular guy. He is catching some heat. But the team that beat him, Belgium, is now into the second half against Spain, one of the superpowers. and it's 1-1 starting the second half. Spain is clearly a little more talented, but Belgium, crafty, veteran team. They managed to tie it up in the first half, and so we'll see how that one goes. We'll keep an eye on it. It's going on as we speak. And now I have a new code from one Chase McCade, Chase is nice enough to, while on vacation, send along the code to get into the text line. So now we're good. So if you guys want to rip me for my bowl, if you're watching on the YouTube thing, you can see it. It's going to get the job done.
Yes.
So do we want Belgium to win? So the U.S. looks better to save face, or do you care? Or do you want them just to get smoked just to make a point?
Me personally, and I would love to hear what our listeners have to say. Either call in 615-737-1025 or text in to the text line. How would you want the team that eliminated you to ultimately win whatever championship it is? In this one, it's FIFA. Would you want the Belgium team to go all the way and win FIFA, or would you rather them be put out today against Spain? To me, it really doesn't matter, because ultimately you lost, and the team that ends up beating them, I'm not going to say, well, then you were able to win, because obviously if the team that beat me loses, I'm not sure if I would have been able to beat the team that beat the team that beat me.
I don't know why, but I think I've always fought, because we have this discussion, like especially with SEC rivalries and hockey or Titans rivalries. Like, some people just cannot stomach rooting for a rival in any game, even if they knocked you out. But generally speaking, I root for the team that beat my team to keep going forward, because I think it looks better. Well, you lost to the team. They were red hot. It makes you feel a little bit better, I think. But I am
what
curious.
If they were going to play the best team the next game?
Well, that's kind of what's happening here. Like, Belgium
exactly.
is definitely an underdog against Spain. Spain is really, really good. So I am curious to see how Belgium does. Like, because Belgium looks so good against USA. If they turn around and get smoked by Spain, it's kind of like, well, the U.S. has got a long way to go here. A long way to go.
Well,
if Belgium can't hang with Spain.
They are not at the half yet.
They just started the second half.
Oh, they just started the second half. Okay, well, it seemed like it's a controlled game. It don't seem like it can get out of hand. This may end up 2-1.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Spain has that explosion, but we'll see how it unfolds. Belgium seems to be playing pretty well. Connor, how do you feel in general about that rule of thumb?
I am generally along the same lines as you, Willie, in that if a team beats my team in a tournament, I tend to pull for them in the next rounds just so it makes us look a little bit better. This is not the case this time, simply because I'm kind of pulling for Spain simply because I want to see Spain and France for a shot at the World Cup final. I feel like that would be a really, really fun match. So I don't really care either way. I feel like either way it's going to be a good match, but I feel like Spain, France is the headliner, and that would get me to tune in from start to finish. So that's kind of what I'm pulling for.
That's a lot of my ancestry is Spain and France. That would be interesting. We have a few comments on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Ricky is already strongly weighed in. I can't say what he said, but he used a letter in front of these blank, Alabama, and the Colts. So I think you can guess the letter and the word. Jags in Florida too, he says. I would never root for a team that beat my team. Let's see, Craig says, rooting for someone just because they beat you or in your conference is so weak. You know how pathetic you sound saying, we lost to the champions. He thinks that's pathetic. So are you calling me pathetic, Craig? I guess you are. Jeez.
And it's not the pathetic part, but it's like, okay, we lost. Whether they go on to win or not, I really don't care after that. It's not one of those things where I still have a vested interest, like it's a double elimination or something. If they lose, then we get to play this team. No, it's you lose and you're out. So once it's over with, it's like, okay, whoever wins, they win.
Now, in this case, like, Belgium is not really a rival. No. They just happen to wipe the floor with our team in a really disappointing way, because everybody was excited. They thought this could be the year. U.S. is going to do something they haven't done before, go a little further, and they just ruined the parade. But it's not like Belgium is a huge rival. Dwight says on our text line, honestly, it doesn't matter to me unless they're a rival. Then I want them to get destroyed. So he is kind of neutral on that. Chad texted, said, when you said Willie was drinking out of a bowl, I thought we were talking lapping water up like a dog. Well, I would have that option with this bowl. This bowl is big enough for me to go,
lapping it up
with the tongue, but I'll spare everybody with that. It's more like, you get that last cereal bowl with the milk, the sugary milk in there, and you want to just, go ahead and chug it.
I just imagine little Willie in front of the TV with the Fruit Loops. That's
man, Willie right there.
Is there anything better? Is there anything better than the last little milk in the Fruit Loops bowl or the Apple Jacks? Oh man,
you would fight over that last bit.
It's like crack. Yeah, it's like crack. Not that I know what crack is like.
Like we got here,
like addictive, like that. Okay, all right.
It's like a warm chocolate chip cookie. It's just like I gotta have it.
And there's something about it that makes you like, okay, I want to fill this bowl up again with another huge load of Fruit Loops or whatever. All right, here's what we got going. We're not going to talk cereal and bowls all day. We do feel like we've missed talking a little football this week. We're in the very calm before the storm of football talk, but we have a couple of really good football summer topics. During the 5 o'clock hour, we'll have Ask DMase, and we've got a couple of specific things to hit him with in the football department. We've also got a great football topic having to do with we've been going backwards and forwards on Cam Ward's rookie season and the numbers. We know the numbers are not good. We've analyzed where we think they can go, but we have a related question. We're going to leave those aside for now and ask a big picture question of, if Cam Ward is not a superstar and he's just good, can the Titans win a Super Bowl with Cam Ward? If he's just good, that's what we're going to tackle during the 4 o'clock hour. But when we come back, we're going to get D-Mace's perspective a little bit more about something that happened in the NHL this week that I think could apply to any major pro athlete. Leo Carlsson becoming suddenly the highest paid player in his sport. We're going to hit that when we come back. We're just getting started on DVD. Stay with us. 615-737-1025. We always want your feedback on water drinking, bowls, World Cup, all of this stuff. DVD continues and cranks up here in just a moment. Now, surprisingly, it's not me choosing the music today, but if I were doing movie themes, I might throw this one in there. How do you know about this song, Connor?
I love Top Gun.
You're a Top Gun guy.
I love 80s music. I love Top Gun.
Okay.
And, everyone points to Danger Zone, but Mighty Wings is underrated.
This is one of you had to have the whole soundtrack like I did. The cassette tape, Derek. Dating myself.
Yes.
And we found out earlier this week that Maverick Bork has not seen Top Gun. You're, a contemporary of his. Befriend Maverick Bork and get him to see it.
We'll watch both back to back.
Back to back, a double feature. Did you ever go to the movie theater, DMase, for a double feature?
Well, we used to go to the drive-in. The drive-in,
did you?
Yeah, back when I was younger.
I don't know if I ever went to a drive-in.
Always had a double feature. They would play an early movie, which was more kid family, and then by then they expected all the kids to be asleep, and then around 10, then the real movie comes on.
Okay.
So then but usually it was what did we go see one year? E.T. and then there was another movie. There was a movie before E.T. and then E.T. So they both turned out to be, family movies.
It was just not in the areas that I lived. We didn't have the drive-in.
Man, drive-ins it was the joint, man. I'm telling you.
I think my first movie was a drive-in.
Really?
That's what I'm talking about, Connor.
2006. I saw Cars in a drive-in.
Ain't nothing like seeing Cars at a drive-in.
All right. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Studios today here on DVD, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. And we're going to hit some good football topics at 4 o'clock. It is still Spain 1, Belgium 1. We got some more people weighing in on the text line here. It says, absolutely cheer, but secretly for the team that beat you. You feel horrible if a scrub team ends up beating you. I kind of lean this way with that texter because, I would feel even worse about the USA's performance if Belgium turned around and got smoked. But they're right in it. It's a 1-1 game.
Yeah.
62nd minute in. And Joel, just for argument's sake, he says he'd like to see Norway upset the superpowers. So Norway's still in it too. We're going to that'll be one of the next two quarterfinals that goes on. But getting back to hockey and Maverick Bork, as we promised you before, there's a big story this week in the NHL, and I think this relates to really all sports. But the system of the NHL, you can throw an offer sheet at what's called a restricted free agent, and that's what happened. The Philadelphia Flyers, and they actually did this to the Predators in 2012. They threw a big offer sheet at a young up-and-coming player named Leo Carlsson of the Anaheim Ducks for 5 years and $18 million per year. Now, in another sport, that may not sound like a ton of money, but in hockey, it would make him the highest paid player in the NHL. And Leo Carlsson signed the offer sheet. So he's locked in. He gets that money no matter what. That's what happened with Shea Weber back in 2012. Ironically, or interestingly enough, the same team did it, the Philadelphia Flyers, trying to overpay to grab a player off of another team, thinking that the other team is just not rich enough or won't overpay their guy and will walk away from him. And you get compensated for first-round picks if you do that. But the Ducks, as expected, matched the contract. So Leo Carlsson is 21 years old. Now, when Shea Weber signed his offer sheet, he was further along in his career. I want to say he was in the mid-20s, 25, 26, something like that. So he was more established. So he was, and it wasn't for quite as much money, but it made Shea Weber the highest paid player at the time, I believe, if I remember that correctly. If you threw the money he was getting with the salary, what am I trying to say? The bonus.
Yes, signing bonus.
The signing bonus.
Yes.
He got enormous signing bonus money up front. And that's the same thing. It's front-loaded. Leo Carlsson is in the same boat. But Leo Carlsson is only 21. He's had 3 very promising seasons. When the draft was held in Nashville, in 2023, just a couple of years ago, he was the second pick overall, right behind Connor Bedard. And the word is that had Anaheim had the first pick, they still would have taken Karlsson over Connor Bedard. And Bedard was getting a ton of hype. But Karlsson, they thought, was that good. Now, he has not blossomed into a superstar yet, but a lot of people believe he's going to be. But to pay him $18 million a year, the highest number of any player this coming year, before he's really done it, is an interesting burden, I think, to carry. We touched on this yesterday, but Derek, I want to get your player's perspective on this, of what that would be like. If you're 21 and you're on a team, now Anaheim is a team full of young players around the same age as Karlsson, so that's a break, but they've got some veteran players. If you're a Predator fan, you might remember Mikhail Granlund. He's on that team. They've got guys like Chris Kreider and a few, Alex Killorn. These are guys that are veterans that have played a lot of games in the league. So if you're walking around that locker room and you're only 21 and you're going from making basically the league minimum to suddenly the highest paid player in the game, would you feel a weight on that? Would that be tough?
I think automatically there is a weight on you because now there is a whatever the expectation was prior to the new contract, you got to times that by 10. If you end up getting a contract that makes you the highest paid player, not just on your team, because that comes with its own sort of sense of responsibility, but you become the highest paid player across the league. That in itself, now you got to go out and it's almost like you always have to prove that the money that was given to you was earned, and it continues to be earned. That's why we see in so many sports, and I'm just talking right now, really football, is you see guys get a big contract, and if they don't play well for whatever reason, they could be injured. The perception is, oh, you got the bag, or you got your contract, and now you laid it down. When sometimes there's more than just that. But luckily it doesn't happen that way in the NFL any longer, because with the new collective bargaining, because before then you had people like Cam Newton, Matthew Stafford. Cam may have been the last person, if I can recall, that had the huge contract coming in as a rookie. Is he there?
Oh yeah, Sam Bradford, maybe.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, Sam Bradford. So,
but Stafford definitely was in that category.
Exactly.
It used to be before. I think it was 2011, right? You were part of the Players Association when that rule got changed, because I think am I right? The players were like, wait a minute.
Yes,
this was like backwards.
It shouldn't
where
be
you're
that
paying
way.
These
you
guys
should have to earn that.
Exactly.
And what was happening is they were getting these huge contracts, not earning it on the actual NFL field. And then when they walk in the locker room, it's just like, dude, that added pressure of a 20-year-old coming into a locker room, being automatically on day one without playing a down in the NFL, you are the highest paid player on the team. That comes with its own expectations. But again, once you become the highest paid in the league, now you are the face of the league. You essentially, what they're saying is, we're going to pay you more than anybody else in this league, which in my sort of limited knowledge in regards to contracts like that, but it automatically makes you like the face, because when they go to, because obviously you would have had to earn that, whether it be with Pro Bowls, more than likely you would have had to earn that with a All-Pro, or you had to be the best at your position, or one of the top 5 quarterbacks or wide receivers, whatever it may be. So it's, in a sense, you did earn it, but now you have to double down.
You got to live up to
it. And prove to people you have to, you can and will live up to that contract. I think that's a lot of pressure to put on a young player.
Connor, what would you think if I just thought of this, if the old system was still intact, because you would have been super young. You probably can't remember when this was the case. Now they have the entry level contract, and they have it in hockey. It's 3 years in hockey. For a first round pick in football, of course, you have a 4-year deal with the 5th year option. But can you imagine if Cam Ward got paid like the first overall pick used to get paid, like Matt Stafford, Sam Bradford. Now, there's two different paths right there, right? Sam Bradford never lived up to that.
No.
But imagine the pressure on Cam Ward if he had already been paid enormous dollars, which is what up until 2011, that used to be what it was.
It would be a controversial thing for sure, because I think
you'd feel more pressure, wouldn't you?
You would, yes. And I think that would be a league-wide thing as well. As you just mentioned, there are first-round picks that don't pan out. There are first-round picks that do hit. So the first overall pick is not something to push aside. And I think there would be a lot more urgency and a lot more pressure on Cam Ward to succeed. And on the other side for the Titans, I think there would be a lot more pressure for them to find their guy. If he's not the guy after the first 1 or 2, maybe 3 years, then you move on. Now, I think as we're moving into I know we're going to talk about this later, but as we're moving in towards a new era of the NFL where you don't have to have the superstar quarterback, I think there's less pressure there. And I think there's more pressure to building a competent roster around him. But if it was the old system, then yeah, it would be pretty wild.
And what I've seen from some guys is like, you have to change. Well, you don't have to, but in their mind, they feel they have to change what they've been doing that got them to the position that they're at. And then they end up changing it and it not working out for them. And then it looks like, well, this guy I think got his contract was a total bust. No, what happened is that he got the contract and then he felt he needed to change something to continue to show everybody that he's earning a contract.
So
that he's
think you're almost trying too hard.
Exactly. Instead of just going out there and doing the things that you were able to do before the contract. Just go out there and do that. The same way you train now. The same way you approach the game. Because to me, a contract shouldn't make you approach the game any different. A contract shouldn't be the determining factor on how I approach my off season or how I approach the game. Now, that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah. And now social media, if you're that age, you're much more likely to have grown up looking at social media and how people react to you. And I wonder, it probably depends on the person, right?
Yeah.
So you were able to block that out yourself.
Yeah, because it was like, okay, what did I do each and every year to get me to this point? Okay, I'm going to continue. I'm not deviating from any of that. I'm working hard. I'm doing working hard. I may be working harder than others, but I'm working hard. I'm taking care of my body. I've been blessed enough to not have any injuries. Well, I'm going to continue to do. Just because you give me this money doesn't mean now I got to change my whole regimen or how I go about my workouts. No, money didn't cause me to work out this hard. The love of the game caused me to work and enjoyment. The byproduct is you get paid a lot of money if indeed you do perform.
I'm curious, though, for a guy at 21. Now, Leo Carlson is from Sweden. I don't know how, but so he's playing away from his home country. He doesn't play in a media hotbed. Anaheim is obviously a big market, Southern California, but it's not like Toronto. It's not like Vancouver. It's not Montreal. It's not New York, where this would be a big story every day he goes out on the ice. He can still kind of float. He's on the West Coast, right? He's playing late at night in a lot of markets. So that probably should help him. But I want to ask the listeners too, 615-737-1025. Does the amount of money a guy makes change the expectations? Floyd Reese would say all the time, if a guy goes from making $2 million to $6 million, it doesn't necessarily mean he's the same player.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean he's a better player because he's making more money, but that's kind of how
that's the perception.
That's the perception.
Yes.
So 615-737-1025, call or text, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What do you think the burden is going to be on Leo Carlson? He's 21. He would be the age of basically a college junior, or these days, a college sophomore, because guys tend to go to college a little later. They got the tricks. 615-737-1025. We're going to talk more about this on DVD, and then we're going to get into the Cam Ward thing at 4 o'clock. Stay tuned. DVD continues. It's still 1-1. Spain, Belgium, 74th minute of the game right now. Stay tuned. We're coming back. We're way past 1999 now.
Yes, we
Back
are.
when this song was out, 1999 was way off in the distance, but the movie themes that are going on today, that's the theme from Connor Newt on DVD. And also the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix is coming to the Nashville Superspeedway Saturday, July 18th and Sunday, July 19th. And 1025 The Game has your chance to win tickets to the IndyCar race. Just text in the keyword RACE, R-A-C-E, and do it right now to 615-737-1025 to enter and win tickets. Go for the win. For more info on the event, visit musiccitygp.com. Still 1-1, Spain and Belgium. We're talking about the whole Leo Carlsson issue and the fallout. Going from your rookie contract to being the highest paid player in the NHL when he is not the best player at age 21. So he didn't just get a pay raise. He went to becoming the highest paid player in the league because of the restricted free agent system. How do we feel about that? We're taking your phone calls and your texts, 615-737-1025. Let's go to Dustin in Hopkinsville, who wants to weigh in on this. Dustin, what's going on?
What's up, guys? So for me, if I'm him, as young as he is, he's probably not developed this. I'm 38. He's what, 21?
Yep.
He's 21. He will turn 22 the day after Christmas.
So he hasn't been through life enough. All this is, this big show for him. And my advice to him is to tune it out. Like, he didn't tell Philly, hey, come make this big offer and up the ante. Put your chips all in on the table and make Anaheim say I'm worth it. That ain't his fault. Two teams said he was worth it. And Anaheim went ahead and went with it. And, you learn things through life. And I found that certain morals with people, they kind of go hand in hand. If he tunes it out, he's a hard worker. He doesn't talk much. He ain't going to have to worry about it. Just go do your job. The bill to he's the highest player and supposed to be the best player now. He's not going to live up to that, most likely.
You're
Go
right.
out there, do your job. Try to win a Stanley Cup. You're going to, whether you were the highest player or not, you're going to hear noise anyways. You're going to hear it louder now. Let it feed you, but don't feed it. Hey, also, before we get off here, man, I got to say, we've got to be rooting for Norway. I don't care if there's any American-blooded guy left in this thing. I have a proper, huge man crush on Erling Haaland. And it's not because of his look, because he looks like the frog emoji from Roblox. If your kids have the frog character. But the dude is so cool. He is so cool. I teach my kids to play like he does. I tell them all the time. I was like, I'll never get on to you for playing a little too aggressive. We don't go out there and hurt people. If they're doing it to you, give it back to them when we're trying to hurt people. But if you're too soft, I'll be all over your butt. And I root for my kids in a proper way. And I don't ever really get on to, hey, we could have done better or something. And whenever it's, when it gets, when they don't like it, I back off. But
okay.
Man, Holland is the epitome of what we want as an American player. You mess with the bull, you get the biggest dang horns. The guy, I want to see him as a wide receiver because he is so athletic. He could be anywhere on the field and just throw a scissor kick and put the ball in any place in the bleachers, the nets, wherever you want to, just call it.
It's good stuff. Hey, Dustin, thanks a lot. We appreciate the call. Norway, England tomorrow afternoon, followed by Argentina and Roman Yossi's Swiss squad. That'll be fun, but Haaland is a character, no question. He's fun. So let's get back to what he said about Leo Carlsson. And he said, you just have to block it out. I think it's easy to say that, and everybody's wired differently. Some people can handle it, but I think, especially in a salary cap sport, you are tied to what you're making. And I'll give you a couple examples. Like how often did Matt Duchene or Ryan Johansson or now, I think Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg have handled getting the big money pretty well. They've lived up to the contract pretty well, I would say. But when you don't, I mean, there's no doubt that you feel it, right? I think, and the thing about the NFL, of course, if you're not living up to your contract, you will get cut. That's a fact after a while
too. But I think it's harder to do now because of a lot of the guarantee money that comes into factor. So it's a little bit harder, I believe, to do it now, especially with quarterbacks. And listen, they're going to give a quarterback so much lead room, especially if they're paying you for a second time. They're going to try their best to make sure you get it right. But when you do, because I've seen it even with myself, and from 97 to 99, there was an expectation that, okay, you just go out there and you do your job. Whatever we ask you to do, whether it be receiver, special team, go out there and do it. But it wasn't this like, oh, if he don't do it, or if it doesn't happen, then he's failed us in a sense. But after that, when I got paid, when I finally got my second contract, now the expectation, even though the player didn't change and my workload didn't change, the expectation was more now. It was, okay, you did this before we paid you, then we expect you to do this and even more after. And a lot of times what fans don't understand is they just look at it as either you did or you didn't. They don't factor in the injuries and maybe a coach change.
Let's look at Calvin Ridley.
A different coach.
Calvin Ridley would be one, right? Because when he came in, there was expectation. Well, he should be getting 1,200 yards, whatever.
Exactly.
He hasn't lived up to it. Injuries part, but even when he's played, there's always that tagline of, well, we paid him all this money, right?
Absolutely. And
you can't escape it.
It wasn't that we paid him that money. It was that he was the number one guy.
Right.
See, he's still getting paid a lot. He's still getting paid. He may still be the highest paid. No,
right. Because he had to take a little bit of a pay cut to stay.
But still, they're not expecting from him what they expected from him last year.
Maybe he'll play better. Maybe he'll play better.
Because now he's not the guy.
Matt Duchene, when he was here, he was expected to lead and be a top line guy to carry. And he had one really, really good season where he scored over 40 goals. He was one of the first and only 40 goal scorers. But there was still an expectation that he probably wasn't living up to. But when the Predators bought him out, which was a big, big story, he's gone to Dallas. He's made less. And he's viewed as a really, really effective player for that team.
Expectations have lowered.
Exactly. He's not having to carry that weight, and he's on a team with more good players. He's making less money, and he's exceeding expectations. So it can change. It's the same guy. He's the same guy, but
he may have gotten a little
different
older.
Expectations.
But the financial responsibility you have toward that player has dropped, which means now what you think or the expectations are have dropped as well, because you can't expect a guy that is making league minimum to below that to be a number one guy. At least if, in his first couple of years, if he hadn't shown that, but you can't expect him to be something that you're not paying him to be. He may ultimately get to that, but you can't then expect this 4th round draft pick to come in here and play like the best player you hope he does. But you don't expect that.
Dave on our text line, and I'm guessing this is a voice text because there's no punctuation. This is a stream of conscious, no periods or anything, but I'm going to do my best to carry Dave's message here. I think the highest paid player in the league, he'll be expected to be the best player in the league, to never get shut down by anyone, to have to score, to have an assist in every game. That's how a lot of people are going to feel that he makes the most. But he says he may not have to win every game, but he'll be expected to perform every game. That's a lot of pressure at that age. I do wonder about that. Now, the thing about hockey is he's going to get that money, whether he gets hurt, whether he plays good, whether he plays poorly, he gets that money. It is guaranteed.
Your boy going through it. Juan Soto? Is it Juan Soto?
Juan Soto, yeah.
Yes.
And he, he hasn't played poorly, but
he hadn't paid up to the contract.
Because the team's not doing well, I'm sure he carries a burden, and some of it's self-inflicted. He is not like a guy that appears to be given 110% every time. He will coast, and people are like, "You're paying all this money, and you can't even run to first base." And that's a fair assessment. Yeah, so you at least have to be playing hard, but you need to produce. The higher money you make, the more
The
expectations there
more
are.
zeros, the more
And
expectations.
at 21, I am curious to see if Carlson can handle it, if he doesn't continue on his path. I think if he had taken the money in Philly, for example, think about the Philadelphia market.
Mhm.
If the Ducks had turned down, speaking of that, here's a text. Hey, did I hear you correctly? The Ducks would have gotten 4 first-round picks for Carlson if they would have let him go to the Flyers? Yes, that's true. If so, the Ducks should have let him walk. $18 million is a big cap hit, and that could bite the Ducks. Yes, it does change their salary strategy.
Mhm.
4 first-round picks, as we've talked about a lot in
But
hockey.
you don't know how high it's
Right.
gonna be.
If it's the
Yeah.
20th pick, the 15th pick, the 25th, let's say they're not top 5 picks, you may not get
Yeah.
a lot. It's a crapshoot, but it was a big debate. But on that note, imagine if they did turn it down,
Mhm.
and he's playing in Philadelphia.
Oh man.
Woo! If he got up to a bad start there, we're paying him all this money. That could have been very, very difficult.
But we even talk about it with Cam now, not necessarily from a financial standpoint, even though, being the number 1 pick does bring you a lot of financial security. But even with Cam, it's like, oh, he's not playing up to that expectation. So you now know, not only do you have the number 1 pick, but you have the money that goes along with the number 1 pick. And everybody's expecting you to come in day one and show that you are that guy. And when you don't, it's, well, why did we draft him first overall? Why is he making so much money? Well, because of what he did in college. And it's just one of those things. It's a crapshoot. You got to wait and see.
Speaking of Cam Ward, he is going to be the center of our discussion in the second hour. Meanwhile, Spain has scored. They're up 2-1 against Belgium. They've gone into extra time. Belgium, though, is threatening to come back. And wow, they just made a great save and defensive play to keep the game 2-1. We'll keep you up to date on that game, and we'll segue into our next topic, which is now Cam Ward is spared of having gotten paid before he ever took a snap, which used to be the case up until Matt Stafford's age. There used to be a huge burden on the first pick in the draft, especially if he was a quarterback, because you got paid a ton of money before you ever played. Now with the rookie cap, there's time for the Titans to assess what Cam Ward is. But we're going to give you a hypothetical, and we're going to ask, if Cam Ward is just a good quarterback and not a great quarterback, can the Titans win a Super Bowl? That's our subject for the next hour, so keep it right here on DVD 102.5 The Game. Second hour of DVD. DMase, Fingen, Donnick here on 102.5 The Game. Willie Donnick, Derek Mason here on this Friday afternoon. Connor Nude is behind the glass. Adam Vingen is off today. He'll be back with us on Monday. It is now a final. Spain has gotten the win with a late goal over Belgium. 2-1 is the final. They are on to the semis against France. So my heritage going head-to-head, Spain versus France. My middle name, Navarro. That's the Spanish.
Willy Navarro.
Donique. That's the
Donique?
French. Yeah.
Okay.
We Americanized my name.
Okay. Willy Don.
It wasn't me. It was me. It was my dad, my grandfather.
Weren't we just talking about Americanizing soccer yesterday?
Right. We were. So maybe when I watch soccer, I should be Donique tomorrow.
Yes.
But it'll be Spain and France. That's two heavyweights going. Tomorrow are the two other quarterfinals, Norway against England, Argentina against Switzerland. So it's going to be a big day as the competition, the World Cup here in the States comes to a head. Great game. Spain gets the win. We are broadcasting live from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Now, we wanted to have a good summer football topic. And earlier this week, we were digesting, and Adam did a great job. And God bless him. He really delved into Pro Football Focus's numbers. He said there were layers and layers and layers of numbers. They do the math. You try to interpret it. I didn't touch it. But it more or less verified what the eye test showed us last year. He graded out very, very low. And what we're all trying to figure out as they head into year two is how much was he just didn't have anything to work with around him. He's a rookie. He's going to get better. If you're optimistic, if your glass half full, we know he's got a great work ethic. He's going to improve some. There's no question about it. But when you look deep into the numbers, I think he's probably much more, and you tell me if you agree or disagree, Derek, he's probably much more likely to be a guy like Sam Darnold or Jalen Hurts than he's going to be a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Would you say that?
No, I would agree. If
if he does, great. If he if he goes Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson, pick whoever you think are the elite quarterbacks. If he does that, great. But I'm tempering my expectations. How about you?
I think he has the possibility, the talent to get there, but we know that talent is a very tricky word and dangerous word. It can get somebody fired because of the talent that they saw in this player. It's like, well, you waited on him too long. Now we got to fire you and get rid of him as a player. So I think,
as Herm Edwards would say, he's a two-staff guy.
Exactly. So
the second staff gets the benefit. The first staff gets the boot.
Exactly. And that's how it typically pans out when you fire a coach after a couple of years. And it may end up working out in this situation for Saleh after they fired Callahan. But when you look at these quarterbacks, Cam in particular, he has the talent to be an elite quarterback. But I think the mistake that we all make, I make it as well, is that when we think elite quarterbacks grow on trees, I think we are so naive to think that, if you play at this level, you should be an elite quarterback, especially if they're paying you money.
If you're the first pick in the draft.
Or if you're the first pick in the draft, you automatically are supposed to be elite. And because of social media, I think it sort of clouds our view of, or podcasts or whatever. It clouds our view of what a quarterback truly is in the NFL. In every sport, you're going to have your elite players and you're going to have your guys that are role players. That's just how it is. But more times than not, as the center of your team, the head of your team, and if you're talking about quarterbacks in the NFL, every team doesn't have an elite quarterback. Every team wants an elite quarterback. Exactly. 80-some%, probably 90% of the league don't have what we would consider an elite quarterback. Even Sam Darnold. He's won a Super Bowl, but I don't think people still consider him an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback, a really good quarterback. He's a franchise quarterback. And y'all know how I've defined franchise quarterback. franchise quarterbacks to me don't need to be elite quarterbacks. It would be great if it were, but franchise quarterbacks are guys that you signed to second contracts that you feel can lead your team, but needs help around them. He can do it for a game or here, one or two here and there, but if you're asking him the whole season, he's not going to be able to elevate it like a Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. Even Josh Allen at a point wasn't considered an elite quarterback. It wasn't until basically, for me, until he won that MVP. And he led his team, what was it, AFC Championship game?
Mm-hmm.
Then he became sort of that elite quarterback. But every team in the NFL, each and every year, tries to find their elite quarterback. What is the those saying shoot for the moon and you reach the stars, something like that? That's how it goes. Shoot for the moon and you'll
Maybe
be
the
amongst
opposite.
the stars.
Shoot for the stars and you get to the moon?
No. Shoot for the moon and you'll be amongst the stars. Or shoot for the
Okay.
sun and you'll be amongst the stars. That's what happened. They shoot for that elite quarterback. But if you're amongst the top 10, because even the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, all of them are not elite.
Well, and this is what brings us to where we got this idea, because you brought this to the table. Because you've been saying this from the start. To your credit, you've been saying what you just made the point of. You could be a, quote, in your mind, you define a franchise quarterback as one you can win big with. You can win a Super Bowl with, but he may not be an elite talent. And the opposite, like Dan Marino, like there's some elite quarterbacks that never won a Super Bowl.
Yes.
But we know they had greatness. There's some really good quarterbacks who you wouldn't consider elite that did win a Super Bowl. Joe Flacco was one, etc.
Brad Johnson.
Sure. Brad Johnson's the extreme. Like, I'm not sure he was, like, he played well, but over his career, he wasn't a great quarterback year in and year out, or even a good quarterback year in and out. Wasn't a starting quarterback a lot of his career. But the Athletic Football Podcast tackled this in their episode this week, because I think for a while, what the point they're going to make, and we'll let them sort of introduce it with the stats, and we're not going to hit you with a bunch of stats today. Adam already did that.
Yeah.
My brain is still a little bit fried.
Adam's the stat guy.
From yesterday with all the stats. I love the stats, but man, he hit us with a wave of them. And admittedly, he knew he was going to fry our brains. So Adam, wherever you are, thanks for that. I'm
Appreciate
still
it.
recovering. But the old adage was, you have to have the elite quarterback if you want to win the Super Bowl. Because for a while, the only guys winning Super Bowls were Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow got his team to the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford, I think, has become Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. Like, for a while, like most years, it was like, you got to have that guy. But when Sam Darnold wins the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, it has you going, well, wait a minute. Do we need to rethink that? And that's kind of what these guys said. So here's them setting the table, and they'll back it up with some numbers, but just keep the idea, because we're putting it in the context of, what if Cam Ward is only good and not great?
I'd say there's been 4 or 5 moments that pushed me to want to have the conversation that we're going to have today. One of them sticks with me. It was me and you sitting at the table. I think Derek was here too, actually, when we were figuring out the teams we were chopping from the table in the back half of the season, going into the second half of last year. And we were just holding on for dear life to the teams led by the MVP level quarterbacks.
Looking for a reason to still believe in them?
We were looking for a reason to just hang on, because I think so much of the last 10, 15 years of the NFL has taught us that those guys are going to be around at the end. Like, that is what the NFL feels like in a given season. And I think in a lot of ways, the league felt different last year. It felt different during the season, and then it felt different when we got to the end of the season. And I think if we wanted to expand it a little bit beyond last year, I think the last few years of the NFL have felt a little bit different. The last 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks were Jalen Hurts and Sam Darnold, which, guys that we've probably underrated at times, but are still not the types of quarterbacks we're used to winning Super Bowls, the Patrick Mahomes, the Tom Brady's. And then the last 3 seasons, I think you can make an argument that the Super Bowl has been won by defense-first teams, even one that had Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. 2 times in the last 3 years, Derek, a team with an offense outside of the top 10 in EPA per play has won the Super Bowl. Twice in the last 3 years. Before that, it hadn't happened since 2015.
So that is where we are now. We know, Derek, that the By the way, they weren't talking to Derek Mason.
No,
they were
they
talking to
weren't
the other
there.
Derek. I can't remember the two guys' names. So they're good. We've referenced this podcast a lot, the Athletic Football Podcast. It's very good. It's very detailed, and they'll hit you with a lot of numbers there. But they're doing what a lot of football nuts do in the summer. They're trying to figure out how people win and how you can win. What are the cycles? What are the trends? Because we do know, and Derek, you could talk about this better than anybody. It goes in cycles, right? When you were playing in the NFL, you played for a Titans team that they didn't go about it like,
like the Rams. Or,
right. There was this phase where the quarterback did everything. You didn't need to have a good running back or a running game. Like Isaiah Pacheco could be your tailback. Joseph Adai could be your tailback, and you could win the Super Bowl. Those could be your leading rushers. You guys did it differently, but it goes in cycles.
Yeah, it does, because if you follow the NFL, and I know a lot of our listeners have, there's been this cycle of the run and shoot, the Bear defense, the Tampa 2, all these iterations of offenses, of defenses, and it seems like the league just evolves. When one side seems to catch up, get the upper hand, somehow the other side finds a way to tilt the scale just a little bit. Now you went to this, okay, we're going to run this run and shoot type of offense. And then the defense says, okay, now we're going to make sure we put quick pressure on the offense so they can't, or we're going to come up and start pressing you so you can't throw those quick passes. So they started spreading people out. The defenses started getting to the quarterback, and then they had to switch more to a run. They had to bring those receivers in. They had to bring those tight ends in because the defensive lines got bigger and they were pushing around the offense. So now you got to add more people to block for the quarterback. Then you became more so of a run-based offense with play action. And then it made another iteration to what we see now. It's the Shanahans and all these other people where it seems like the league has turned into more of a offensive type of game where the rules are skewed toward the offense. Because why? Points sells tickets. No one wants to see a 12-13 game or 10-13 game anymore. Every once in a while, but they don't want to see that each and every year. But
defense wins championships, so the defenses are always trying to catch up to what the offense is doing.
The defense has always tried to adjust themselves to what the offense were doing. And after a while, the league found, and because of protecting the players, that we need to sort of make this a faster paced game. Now defenses have changed. You see guys that used to play linebacker, they're playing safety now. Guys that used to play safety, they're putting them down at linebacker. So it's become a faster sport. Whereas 10 years ago, it was more of a run in a phone book type of offense. Those offenses typically don't drive. Those offenses typically don't thrive anymore like they used to. But if you have a quarterback that he doesn't have to be a superstar. I consider Jalen Hurts and Sam Darnold really good quarterbacks, but I don't consider them elite quarterbacks. But you're able to win with those guys because, one, they're efficient at what they do, and then two, you surround them with players. And then also the most importantly thing is you get them a defense where if they need to score, 21 points or 28 points, they know they can do it because their defense is going to shut the other team down, or their defense is going to make more plays for them than not. But if they feel they got to go out there every week and score 38 points, they're not going to win. So you can have a good quarterback with a great defense or a good defense. You can't it's hard to have a great quarterback and your defense isn't good.
I think one of the things
Joe Burrow just went through that. He's going through that now.
Oh, yes. There's been a lot on his shoulders. And when he hasn't been able to stay healthy, even when he has, it's been hard for him. He's got to be perfect. He's got to carry everything. Patrick Mahomes, it's interesting. They do all these studies. EPA is a central stat. Expected points added. I think it's what it is. But what it is, it's an overall, every sport is coming up with this, an overall catch-all efficiency rating. Like, what are you doing to help your team win relative to everybody else? One of the teams that didn't score real well offensively a couple years ago that won it was the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes was carrying everybody on offense. They had a lot of shortcomings, that it was really the defense
Yes.
that helped them win it a couple years ago.
They was in those 2 years that they won, I believe their defense were top 10, top 5 defenses. And that's why it was it was hard for them to win moving forward because their defense got old and they got injured. Patrick Mahomes, as great as he was, he couldn't carry them like that the whole season. It took a lot out on him. But when he had a good defense, when Chris Jones and those guys were out there doing what they do, the game was, in a sense, a little bit easier because they knew in their mind, our defense is only going to give up 10 points, 17 points a game.
Right. And when Kelsey was in his prime,
Yes.
and they had Tyreek Hill in his prime, they could outgun you, right? And they did. That's how they're winning. But to stay as good as they have been for as long, they've had different ways that they've gone about it. As they've lost some guys, they had to trade Tyreek Hill.
Mhm.
They've had some issues with injuries. The defense really has been what kept them afloat. And it all kind of collapsed. Remember, they had no
Yes.
offensive line, all of that stuff. And people are really trying to figure out how in the heck did the Seahawks do it? Because nobody at this time last year was saying the Seahawks can win with Sam Darnold as the quarterback. Because even the rest of their roster didn't look like it was going to be great. So they get into all of these ingredients. So what I want to do is throw it to you, the listeners, and ask, how would the Titans, number one, do you think it can happen? Let's just say, for argument's sake today, that Cam Ward is good, but not great. Can the Titans win a Super Bowl? And if so, how would they have to do it? 615-737-1025. We're going to give you a few more ingredients from that podcast on what it might take. And are we going into a trend in pro football where you don't have to have the elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl? Does that give you maybe some optimism that maybe you didn't have 4 or 5 years ago, and it was just Brady and Mahomes every year battling out to see who's going to win the Super Bowl? 615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. Stay tuned. You're listening to DVD on 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. You heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. But I got some good news, because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. That comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
Connor Newt has moved into the 90s with his movie themes, which is our music theme of the day here on DVD. We're having fun. Cam Ward, if Cam Ward doesn't become a star quarterback, that he's just a good quarterback. That's our hypothetical today. How would they do it? And do you think they could do it? Does the fact that the Seahawks winning with Sam Darnold give you hope? That's the question. We want to hear the answer from you. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's have fun on a Friday with this. The hypothetical. Can you win with a good quarterback? Specifically Cam Ward, if he's not, great. And this football offseason coverage on 1025 The Game is presented by Tennessee Brew Works and Parman Tractor and Equipment. All right, let's get to a little bit of feedback from our text line here. Sonny says the defense has to be top 10. Has to be top 10. The D-line has to be top 5 in sacks and pressures. I'm not necessarily talking about this year. I'm talking about in the next few years or sometime. I'm not talking about any specific year. But Sonny, I think, has hit on a couple ingredients that are important. Secondary has to stay healthy. O-line has to be top half of the league. So the questions at center, guard, and tackles are answered and exceed expectations. Tate and Robinson are hits, both having 1,000 receiving yards. So he's really talking about the current personnel. I'm not seeing it this year. I have more of a vision of when that new stadium opens and they are able to grow the roster a little bit. Can it be done? It's more of a concept than specifics here, but that's a really good start there. So thanks for the text, Sonny. Good stuff. 615-737-1025. So you hit on it, Derek. The defense, and you got Robert Saleh. He's all about defense. So I do wonder what his expectations are for Cam Ward, but I'm guaranteeing that his vision is let's start by having a great defense, because this is one thing in the Football Athletic podcast or the Athletic Football podcast. They note that even though if you look at the numbers, it's hard to sustain a great defense year after year, the team that wins the Super Bowl plays top 10 defense. Would you agree? The defense has to be top 10 for this to work if you only have a good quarterback and not a great one.
Yeah, you have to be one of the best defenses in the National Football League if you have a, say, just good quarterback and not one of these elite quarterbacks. Because I've looked over this list of the last 10 Super Bowl winning teams, and obviously is littered with either Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. Now you got Matthew Stafford in there, Jalen Hurts in there, and then the other kid from not the kid from Philadelphia that came in. What's his name?
Not Jalen Hurts.
Not yeah. Well, the first time they won a Super Bowl.
Nick Foles.
Nick Foles. So you have Nick Foles in there as well. But outside of that, there's only been 2 teams in the last 10 years that had a even to negative turnover differential and won the Super Bowl. Every other team, 8 out of the 10, were +2 or better, with New England being the best in 2016. I need to look up when New England being the best at +12 in 2016. So if you have a good quarterback, to sort of balance that, you got to have a defense that, one, is good in the pass, because as we've seen, if you don't have a good quarterback, you're going to be facing a quarterback that is probably more than likely better than you. So your superpower, so to speak, is your defense and your takeaways. We saw the not Cincinnati, but the New Orleans Saints do it that one year. I think they were it was almost a record what they were.
It was a Greg Williams defense, who was your defensive coordinator when you played for the Titans.
They had a great quarterback, but because of their defense and it was more so their takeaways and their red zone defense,
right,
that they were able to win a Super Bowl that year.
And they had a pick 6 in that Super Bowl against Peyton Manning, if I remember correctly. Speaking of that, coming attractions, Sean Payton, the coach of that team for the Saints, He'll be a big subject in our 5 o'clock hour for our Ask DMase. Great article behind the scenes with him and his days for the Broncos. And the Broncos, right, they don't have a great quarterback. They have Bo Nix.
Yes.
But they have an excellent defense, and so they will be considered one of the contenders in the AFC to get to the Super Bowl. Houston, a great defense. The FTN Fantasy, Aaron Schatz, he's already said they're doing the numbers. They've got Houston as a Super Bowl favorite in the AFC. Now, a couple years ago, that would not have happened, right? CJ Stroud is good at best. He's laid a couple of eggs in playoff games, terrible performances. And yet, they still like the numbers for Houston, even in a conference that still has Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. So is the trend changing? Does that give you hope that if Cam Ward is not Josh Allen, you can still win? 615-737-1025 is the number. Texter says, defense wins championships. Yes, he's got the T-shirt. So, yes, they can win with an okay Cam Ward. Now, okay isn't going to get it done, right? But, and you played with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl.
Joe Flacco was more than okay.
That's the thing. You have to be capable of a big game. This was a good point they made in the podcast. There's going to be a game, probably a playoff game.
Yes.
You have to be capable of having a 30-point game, right? Orchestrating an offense that gets you 30. You're not going to luck your way. Your defense can be great, but unless you're the 85 Bears and that dominant, somewhere along the line, you have to at least be capable of having a big game and get hot at the right time. And that was Flacco, right? For the Ravens.
Yes,
he got hot. They won in Denver against Peyton Manning and a very high-powered offense. They didn't score 30 points every week, but they were capable. So I think Cam Ward, in this vision, he doesn't have to be carrying the whole team, but he's got to be capable of big games.
You have to, even with the elite quarterbacks, you have to be able to have a game in the playoffs because you're good enough to get us to the playoffs. You do have to, if you are just a good quarterback. Joe was a good is a good quarterback because he's still in the NFL. Joe is a good quarterback, but Joe had a great run in the playoffs. What was it?
2014-ish?
14. Yeah, it was 2014. Yeah.
Or 2012. I'm trying to remember. The years are running together.
It was
right
2012. They beat Indianapolis. They beat, what was it?
They beat a very high-powered Denver team in the AFC title game, and then the 49ers when the lights went out in the
So the
Super
wild card, they beat Indianapolis. In the divisional, they beat Denver. In the conference championship, they beat the Patriots.
Well, that's a pretty good run.
And then they end up beating the 49ers. But in that,
I forgot about they had to beat the Patriots.
Yeah, exactly. So, but in that, Joe had to have because the defense, honestly.
So he beat Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in the same playoff run.
Because if you look at that defense, wasn't a great defense, but it had balance. But what happened is, Joe went on a run, a historic run in the playoffs. So you had a good quarterback turn into an elite playoff quarterback, which allowed them the ability to make the Super Bowl. Then he doubled down in the Super Bowl and continued to have that sort of streaky 4 or 5 games.
So I think that is an important point about Ward of what's the floor to win a Super Bowl. He doesn't have to be Hall of Fame, Drew Brees, that type of guy. The guy that we always try to envision, you hope to get when you pick your quarterback first in the draft. But he's got to be able to get to that level on occasion, right? He's got to be capable of those big games.
Here's Joe Flacco's numbers throughout the playoffs. And Joe, I don't think that year 2012, I need to look. If you can look, Connor, that'd be great. In 2012, he wasn't a top 10 quarterback. When you're talking about metrics and everything
when
else.
you go back and look at his career stats, they're good.
He was a good player. Yeah. But here's his run. 267 yards, 2 touchdowns. 398 yards, 3 touchdowns. 320 yards, 3 touchdowns. 286 yards, 2 touchdowns. there's a correction with Denver. He had 273. I was looking at the total yards, but 273 yards. So in 4 games, he had 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns and average about 250 yards a game. That is, he turned himself into an elite quarterback for 4 games.
Well, let's take Darnold last year. Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl, he didn't have to play that great. The defense completely shut down the Patriots. They didn't score a ton of points. He was okay, but who did they have to beat to get there? They had to beat the Rams, who were really, really good. And that was a big shootout, right? It was during the ice storm, so I was like, not at my house because I had no power. It was freezing. I'm like, where is everybody? The street is dark, but I was able to find somebody who had the game on. But man, he was amazing in that game. So he was capable of having the big game. So I think that is an important point, which also brings us to how close have the Titans come recently? It was Ryan Tannehill's Titans. So at the Athletic Football Show, they actually made a reference to Ryan Tannehill. So let's dive into that for a second. But first, here's what they had to say about the level of quarterback Ryan Tannehill is. And again, let's keep it in this perspective. Going forward, how would you feel if Cam Ward gets into that ballpark, the Ryan Tannehill level? So here's what they had to say about him.
The part of this I think that is maybe actionable is I still think that, like, you want to have one of the elite quarterbacks, right? Like, I would always rather build around a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, whoever it's going to be, than have to live into the wilderness and have to be signing a Sam Darnold off the scrap heap, whatever it's going to be. But I do think previous teams that were living in what you always say, Robert, of like winning in the NFL is winning with Ryan Tannehill. Previous versions of that were trying to do it by crafting elite offenses that could contend with the elite quarterbacks. And I think the problem that those teams ran into is, let's say a Patrick Mahomes offense is top 5 and a Ryan Tannehill offense is top 5. At the end of the day, the Patrick Mahomes one is going to be better. Like when it comes to nut cutting time in the playoffs,
for sure.
Yes, it's less fragile. Exactly. Like they are less immune to breaking down in those high pressure scenarios.
Okay, so I think you're stating the obvious when you say you would rather have a guy like Josh Allen. Of course, the Bills haven't won it yet with Josh Allen. But of course, the longer you go, those guys tend to make more money and it gets trickier. But you still take that over not. But that's a really interesting point. And the Titans, the closest they ever came, as we know, they beat Brady. They beat Lamar Jackson, who was the MVP in the league that year. So they beat elite quarterbacks. And then they got Mahomes, right? They were right there at halftime, and Patrick Mahomes was just at another level that day. But do you think those Titans teams, that was 2019, 2020 was a really good team that probably had the best offense. Of course, it was a weird year with the COVID and all that. And then 2021, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they laid an egg against the Bengals, as we know. But do you think that team could have won the Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill playing quarterback? Was he good enough to win the Super Bowl with the team that they had?
I mean, it's hard to say that he was because he didn't. He had an opportunity.
But don't you think, like, sometimes you were like,
yeah, okay,
they didn't win it, but were they good enough to win it if they had played better?
They were good enough to win. They had shown throughout the season, because they had the number 1 seed. They had shown throughout the season with Ryan Tannehill as quarterback that they were good enough to win a Super Bowl. You just don't luck up and become the number 1 seed. And it wasn't even really close. If you watch the Titans, they were the best team during the regular season in the National Football League. But it wasn't predicated on the quarterback. They had a good quarterback, but they had a great running back and a really good defense. So his job was to not just orchestrate and run the offense the way it's supposed to be ran. Don't make any mistakes. You don't play hero ball unless you really have to. Well, it turned into him having to play, he thought, hero ball. And what happened? 3 interceptions. So did they have the talent? Did they show during the regular season they were capable of winning the Super Bowl? Yes. But when they got into the playoffs, the one thing that held them, was part of holding them up the whole year, end up playing bad for him, and that was the quarterback. Because even during the season, you saw Tannehill win games for them. He had to win games for them. This time he had to maintain a game, and he couldn't do it. It seemed like, I think had they had a healthy Derrick Henry, they would have went into that game with a whole different game plan.
But that brings us to the running piece to this, and we've got some texters that are lined up to make that point too. So when we come back, let's focus on that, because I do think, I feel strongly that if they're going to win it all with Cam Ward, and this is under the hypothetical that he doesn't turn into Josh Allen or what we would call a superstar elite quarterback, you need that sidekick running back. And all due respect to Tony Pollard, he's steady, but they need somebody, they need a better running game than they have currently with that. But we'll talk about that when we come back. 615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. The question is, can the Titans win the Super Bowl with Cam Ward if he doesn't become a superstar? Stay tuned. We're coming back. Oh, yeah. Motivational music. Rocky IV, Survivor, The Burning Heart. Speaking of motivation, we're going to get into Ask DMase in the 5 o'clock hour, and we're going to talk about motivational speeches, props, movie clips that a football team uses on a week. And we're going to talk about preparing for a playoff game and what happens in the days leading up, the preparation, the game plan, and some of those motivational things. And it was inspired by an article written by Seth Wickersham. We touched on this earlier. The big news story was when it was revealed that Sean Payton actually went to Broncos ownership and said, hey, let's have Bill Belichick come be the head coach. I'll just run the offense. Bill Belichick can come in until he wins 15 games, and then he'll step down. I'll go back to the helm. Obviously, that did not happen, but it was a great behind-the-scenes piece, a real long piece, but it really chronicled. Seth Wickersham was in the meetings. He had full access watching Sean Payton prepare his team for the playoff run that fell short. Of course, a big central piece, Bo Nix broke his ankle.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about that in the next hour, but we'll get sort of the player's perspective from DMase on what that's like, the intensity and the detail of preparation when you have one game a week and you're going through every detail of a game plan. Now, Bo Nix, segueing back to this conversation, they were the number 1 seed last year. Bo Nix is a good young quarterback. I don't think anybody would confuse him for John Elway or Peyton Manning in his prime, but they could have won it last year. They didn't. The Seahawks did. They don't have a great quarterback. They have the reclamation project in Sam Darnold. So we're asking the question, what if Cam Ward is just good and not great? Can the Titans win a Super Bowl? Do you have more hope that answer is yes now than you did maybe 5 years ago when the prevailing thought was you got to have the superstar quarterback or you got no chance of winning? 615-737-1025. Jeff on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says they'd have to be plus 15 or more in takeaways and have a 1,400-yard wide receiver. Now, the 1,400-yard one, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where he came up with that number exactly. It would certainly help. Carnell Tate, you hope is that kind of guy. But I'm thinking more along the lines of the staple running game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that is the thing that elevates a quarterback more than anything else. And I feel like we're going away from the era where you said, hey, you don't have to pay the running back. You don't need that. You just get the quarterback. I don't think that's true anymore, Derek. You tell me. I think for Cam Ward, if he's only going to be good, they're going to have to find him the Eddie George or Derrick Henry. Maybe not somebody that great, but somebody closer to that than what they currently have.
They're going to, because the NFL is, it's flipping itself on its head slowly. 2-3 years ago was like, we didn't need a running back. You can pay anybody as long as he goes out there and is able to get you some yards when you need it. You don't have to pay a back $10 million or $20 million a year. Go get 2 backs and that's fine. But I think after Philadelphia, and even with Derrick Henry to an extent, teams start to see if we have a dominant running game, it takes the pressure off of the quarterback to be the end-all be-all. Again, everyone doesn't have Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. They don't have those dudes. So when you don't have that elite guy, you got to try to be stronger in other areas. That's why when the Titans had Derrick Henry, and toward the end, it was like, I would love for Derrick Henry to go somewhere where he has a truly legitimate shot, because the Titans were on the bottom end of their run. So him going somewhere, using his talent to go somewhere with a quarterback that he can pair that with, or Tim they can pair that with, and them hopefully going to a Super Bowl, because at that point, the Titans were on a decline. And the only thing they had was a Derrick Henry. They didn't even have an okay quarterback. They had a Derrick Henry. That was it. So in order for you, I think, and it's been proven with the Seattle Seahawks, with Philadelphia Eagles, and even the Kansas City Chiefs to an extent, they didn't have the 1,500-yard rusher, but with Kansas City, they could run the ball whenever they wanted to. People were so worried about Patrick Mahomes that it made their running game even better. Pacheco and those guys, they became household names, not because they were leading the league in rushing, but because their impact on the game when they did have the ball in their hand.
I think you got to have. I think Cam Ward is going to need a running back that during the game planning they say, you know what, we have to be ready to stop the run. Because I think now this is we don't know, but this is the hypothetical: is if Cam Ward isn't the guy that could just carry a team. He's, as we pointed out in the last segment, we think he's got to be capable of big games, especially in the most important games. He's got to be capable of a big game. But if he can't do it every week, you need that running back to pick up the slack. We got a lot of people on the text line.
Oh, goodness.
But go ahead.
Here's another thing, because obviously, yes, and we're going to keep on, riding the running back theme, no pun intended, with the running back. But also, you have to, and we talked about this prior to talking about the running back, I think you got to have a top 10 defense across the board. I think you have to. If you just have a good quarterback and he's not that elite guy, your defense has to be across the board. It doesn't need to be number one, but I think it has to be a top 10 defense when you look at all the metrics.
Gotcha. 615-737-1025. Can the Titans win a Super Bowl with Cam Ward if he is just good and not great? What would need to happen? 615-737-1025. Let's go to our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Alex from Montreal. No disrespect to the late Steve McNair, but was he a great quarterback, or was that D so elite and Steve was solid? Well, it depends on what Steve McNair you're talking about, because Steve McNair was a co-MVP of the league.
The Super Bowl Steve McNair was a good quarterback.
Yeah.
They didn't put a lot on him. We had Eddie George. The defense is playing fabulous, led by Javon Curse and everybody else. But then after that, he became an elite quarterback. And he won an MVP, led his team to a playoff consecutive seasons. Unfortunately, we lost to the Ravens that year, where I think that was the best team that we had the year after the Super Bowl.
And speaking of that, another texter says, what about Trent Dilfer? Well, that's probably the extreme example.
But that
at that
was
stage
in the
of
NFL.
Right. I mean, this was a long time ago, but this is what we talk about. It comes back around, right? That's kind of the premise of this this idea. Is we listen to the podcast, the Athletic NFL podcast, and they're asking the question, is the trend swinging back to having the big time defense? Is that the way to win now, as opposed to you just got to have the elite quarterback? Because if you just go by that anyway, there's going to be 25 teams every year that won't be able to win by that definition, because there just aren't that many elite quarterbacks. But Trent Dilfer, when he was playing for the Ravens, they had an unbelievably good defense, right? They were, you guys, the Titans at the time, and the Ravens, that they had by far the two best defenses in the league that season. And it was just whoever was going to win that game.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't have to pull that Band-Aid off, but that it was kind of a freakish loss. You guys were probably the better team that day, but some freak things. But look, you got it. They won the game. 2 or 3
freak things happen and you lose.
But they won the game.
Yes.
And once they did, you kind of thought, okay, they're going to win. And Trent Dilfer didn't have to do a whole lot.
He didn't have to do much.
Yeah.
But don't turn the ball over. And that's the same thing with Ryan Tannehill. Even though I thought Ryan Tannehill was a much better quarterback than Trent Dilfer, and that's no disrespect to Dilfer, because he won a Super Bowl. But if you're in that position and you're not an elite quarterbacks are able to get away with mistakes. Good quarterbacks, they can't get away with mistakes. But here's the thing. Because there's been so much focus and emphasis on the offense, I think it's always been, you need to have a really good defense and you need to have a really good run game that can control the game. That's the key word, a run game that can control the game. That's what Kansas City had. They had a run game that could control it. And then the defense comes in and they dominate for you. They dominate. So I can control the game on one side, and then my defense is going to dominate. It's going to end up being a 21-10 game. That's still the way to win. But if you have that elite quarterback, there's some wiggle room in both. If you have an elite quarterback, there's a wiggle room in your defense and your run game.
Couple other texts to hit. One texter says, I wouldn't call Eli Manning an elite quarterback. I think that's fair. Like,
his defense was elite.
Yeah, and they were great when they needed to be great. That's a really interesting name to bring up and team to bring up because they were in the mix. They had they had a couple of great runs. And we talked about it with Flacco. He wasn't elite year in and year out, but he was capable of big games when it mattered most, right? That's what Eli Manning was able to do.
They both were franchise quarterbacks. That's both of them, Eli as well as Joe. They were franchise quarterbacks. And if you look at both of them, neither one of them are elite. I don't care if Eli won 2 Super Bowls or not. He's not an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback. But if you're just going to have a good quarterback, you got to have elite talent around it somewhere. And more importantly, is usually the defense, because they have to carry the offense if indeed they don't come out and score, 21 points.
Another texter says, I have more belief in Mitch Trubisky than I do in Cam Ward. He's the superior player. Well, if that's the case, there won't be any Super Bowl contending anytime soon. No disrespect to Mitch Trubisky, but so let's hope that it's not that it doesn't go that direction.
They don't have to go to Mitch Trubisky.
Because in this hypothetical, Cam Ward is the guy, and he is good, but not super. Craig has a good take here on our text line. If Ward turns into Sam Darnold, Cam can win a Super Bowl. A good quarterback that limits mistakes. He would need a very good to elite defense, and for Tate and one other receiver to work out, as well as a good young running back on a rookie contract. It doesn't matter how good he is right now. The rest of the team isn't Super Bowl ready, but they could get there. Now, that brings up the obvious, right? You got to draft well.
Yes.
And that was a point made on the podcast, the Athletic NFL podcast. We invite you to listen to it if you really want to get into detail on it. But they pointed this out with the Seahawks and the Rams, really, who have been really good, even though they traded a lot of draft picks. The draft picks they have made, and I think you would say this about the Chiefs, and hopefully Mike Borgonzi brings that over here to Nashville. But the Seahawks really got a lot of big contributors, even from non-first-round picks, second-round picks, third-round picks. Get starters there. The collective, that's how you get good. That's how you improve the roster, and the Titans have a long way to go in that. So any discussion of Super Bowl, especially with not a superstar quarterback, you have to nail your drafts. And the Titans are still coming out of the woods on that one.
You have to build around your quarterback, because even if he doesn't turn again, and this is just my belief, even if he doesn't turn into an elite quarterback, because I believe all elite quarterbacks are franchise quarterbacks, obviously, but I don't think all franchise quarterbacks are in the same boat as Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. We can go down the list. I don't know. I'm sure people don't put Jalen Hurts or Sam Darnold in the same category as the two guys that I've mentioned prior. So if I have a franchise quarterback, but then I have a top 10 defense in a running game that can control the game if I need for that to happen, the likelihood of you winning goes up, because an elite quarterback gives you room for error when you don't have a top 10 defense. But when you have a top 10 defense, you can minimize, or really running game, I can minimize what the quarterback does.
Great participation from our text line, but we want to encourage you to keep that up, because the Ask DMase segment is coming up, and we're going to have a theme today about what it's like to prepare for a playoff game behind the scenes, because there was a great this is an article I would really recommend on ESPN.com. And that is the one by Seth Wickersham, where he is embedded, would be the term, with the Denver Broncos as they made their run last year that fell short in the AFC Championship game. But they beat Josh Allen and the Bills. They were the 1 seed. And, of course, Bo Nix got hurt. They had to try to win a game with Jarrett Stidham, who hadn't thrown a pass all year, which had never happened before. But it's a fascinating article. So we want to get D-Mace's take on what it's like to prepare for games of that magnitude day in and day out. And, of course, with D-Mace, the field is wide open. Ask D-Mace. You can ask him anything. 615-737-1025. The 5 o'clock hour is coming up. Final hour of DVD here on 102.5 The Game. Friday afternoon. Let's get excited about the weekend. We made it through. And we've got a really fun hour coming your way. We've had a lot of World Cup talk this week. We've had the hockey big offseason wave of changes, the draft, and then the free agency. And we wanted to have a day of really solid football talk today, summer football talk. We're still a couple weeks away. But this is kind of like the equivalent of the old hot stove when you talk baseball in the winter and you get the hot stove going. This is like the hot summer. We're waiting for training camp, but there's no football going on right now. But we had a fun philosophical conversation last hour about Cam Ward. What if he's only good? This hour, it's Ask DMase. So you can ask DMase anything. But we thought it would be great to ask DMase what it's like to prepare for a playoff game, because there was a really fun article in ESPN behind the scenes. It's long. So, grab something to eat, something to drink. If you're going to sit there, or it might take a couple of sittings to get through the whole thing. And because it's so detailed, but I found it fascinating. What it did was it took a writer, Seth Wickersham, and he basically followed Sean Payton everywhere he went for a couple weeks during their playoff run. They were the number 1 seed last year in the AFC, which is a fun spinoff of what we talked about last hour. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, they weren't even in the playoffs last year. It was a huge opportunity for the Broncos. And, of course, they had to deal with their quarterback, Bo Nix, getting hurt. But it chronicles the preparation that goes into a playoff game, what a coach does, not only for the X's and O's and the game planning, but also how do you get your team in the right frame of mind? So that's going to be the theme of Ask DMase. But we want you to weigh in. If you've just got some fun stuff, as we always do, that's always fair game on Ask DMase. 615-737-1025. We're broadcasting, of course, from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. So, DMase, let's start with this. The Broncos thing. Sean Payton is pretty unique. He's a mad scientist. And one of the questions I had as I was reading some of his crazy stuff, the 14-hour days, all the things you hear about game planning, they sleep in the office, or they sleep from like 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. and then they come right back. They don't talk to they might talk to their families for 10 minutes, especially in the playoffs where you're so close you could taste the Super Bowl. Do you think Sean Payton is like every NFL coach, or do you think he's more of a maniac than some of them?
I think he's like every coach that has been in that position, because there's a difference between, and everybody knows that there's a difference between preseason and regular season. Everybody knows it and sees it. But then there's a difference. There's a whole different world when it comes to regular season and playoffs. Because, listen, you win, you advance, you lose, it's over. So all that stuff you did during the season, all that, working out and working extra hours and spending extra, hours in the meeting room, all that ends up being for nothing. Now we got to start back over. So the minute the playoffs start, the minute that last game has been over, everybody changes their tune. Everybody changes their attitude. Everything becomes hyper-focused for 4 weeks. If you are not a first, if you don't have the number 1 seed, then it's really 4 weeks that you got to play the divisional round, the wild card round, the divisional round, and then the championship, and then obviously the Super Bowl. So there's 4 weeks in there where you have to be deliberate in your time. You have to make sure that every stone is unturned, because there's no more, we can get it back next week. We're going to face that team in the next, 6 weeks so we can get it back. We can go back and scout ourselves. No, it's none of that. It's that either you get it right now. It's a pass or fail grade. That's exactly what the playoffs each and every week is, a pass, fail Great. So you have to approach it like that if you're serious about what you're doing. So every coach that I've been a part of, whether it's starting with Jeff Fisher to Billick to Harbaugh, those guys, once they were already intense. Billick a little bit more relaxed than the other two, but they were intense. But when the playoffs came, it was just like everything changed because now we got to get hyper focused for the next 4 weeks to achieve a goal that we set at the beginning of the year.
So you felt a difference in Jeff Fisher,
Oh, of
playoff
course.
Jeff Fisher, as opposed to regular season.
Of
Jeff
course,
Fisher.
I felt the difference in a locker room, period. It wasn't that guys, we don't take our job seriously because we do. And it's not like we're not paying attention to detail because we do. But when you're in a regular season, it's different because you know you have another opportunity. Whether you win or lose, you have another opportunity to make it right. In the playoffs, you don't. It's gone.
And for football, one of the things that Wickersham drives home, and I think it's a good one, every sport's a little bit different. Because we know now we live in a world where there is unlimited information out there. College basketball, like you could know every single thing about the opponent you're going to play. Individual players, team schemes, all that stuff. And you can get it so much quicker now than you used to when you had the old VHS and you were editing tape or film even before that. Remember, they actually had projectors to watch film. Some coaches didn't even watch film. Now you can't win without it. Baseball, tons of information. But baseball and basketball, you're playing the next night. You lose, you're playing the next night. Basketball, you might have 1 night off, 2 nights off, you're coming right back. Hockey, same thing. You got 3 games, 4 games a week. But in football, you have an entire week to get everything you want to get. And you know the other team's working just as hard as you. But here's a couple of things that or examples of what goes on. Sean Payton, he railed right between the win against the Bills last year where they edged Josh Allen and the Bills. And Nick got hurt. People just to jar people's memory. Then, of course, they lost to the Patriots in the championship game. So between the 2 games, one of the first things he did was he went in to chastise his one of his assistants, because they had a big discussion on who to activate. And they activated one guy for one purpose, and he didn't end up playing in the game. And he was really upset about that. And this was a guy, I've never heard of the guy. The guy may not even be in the league next year. But they were doing it for one specific reason, and they, because they have to make the choice. Do we go A, B, or C? Do we activate Connor? Do we activate Adam? Well, no, let's go with this guy for this one big thing. So, like there's no detail that they don't get to. He went to a bank of films that looked at every fake punt for the last 6 or 7 years, just to try to find 1 or 2 that he thought would work against the opponent. This is the head coach who, by the way, calls the plays. Sean Payton's calling the offensive plays. He's still looking for fake punts to use. And the reason is he did not want to have a situation where it was 4th and short and he punted the ball back to Josh Allen. He was saying to himself, I'm the coach. If it's 4th and short, if we punt the ball back to Josh Allen, even though he has a great defense, he doesn't think he can win. So he was planning on faking a punt. So he's like, I'm going to have 1 or 2 fake punts that I know will work, or I think will have the best chance. So these are the things that turn the wheels. And so how does a player experience that when you know the coaches are staying up all night digging for all of these little things to try to get the smallest of advantages?
Well, as a player, when you know coaches are doing that, you make sure that if they're going the extra mile to find those plays or, find that particular defense that we hadn't seen, if they're going through all that trouble, make sure we know it. Make sure that when we go on the field, we're ready for those moments. Because if the coaches, which they do, after that last game is over, depending on if you have a bye or not, say if you don't have a bye and you got to play that next week. Coaches go from say if we played away, for instance, Jacksonville, let's just say that. We go to Jacksonville. We don't have a bye that week. We're coming back. Everybody's flying back. Coaches are going straight to their meeting rooms. They're going straight to their meeting rooms. They getting their stuff. We all would ride the bus back. But there was a portion where we took our cars there, but I think that was post 9/11 where we had to ride on the bus. It was. So they would come back from, riding from the airport with us on the bus. We would get in our cars and go home, or some guys would go in and get some treatment. But all the coaches to a man would be in their meeting rooms, breaking down film for the next opponent. Why? Because we don't have a do-over. It's either you pour in now or you don't pour in at all.
Okay, so let's go quickly day by day, how they spoon feed you or feed you this game plan.
Well,
so let's say you're playing on Sunday. Let's say you just won a big game the previous Sunday. So what's Monday like?
Monday's the day. Monday you come back in. If there is, say, if you play Sunday and your next game was the next following Sunday, if it just worked out that way in the playoffs for you, because sometimes it's usually Saturday, then Sunday, you play the next following Sunday, or you play Sunday, then the next following Saturday. But say if you just went from Sunday to Sunday, if you did have a game that week without a bye, what happens is Monday we come in, we go over like quickly what happened in the previous game, but then if we know who our opponent is, we get an introduction, a slight introduction to our opponent, not end all be all, but we give we get a trailer. That's what we get. We get a trailer to our opponent, even though more than likely we've already played them.
Like a movie preview.
We get a preview of our opponent.
Here's the general things that we have to do to beat this team.
Absolutely. So then after that is a little shakeout because we just played Sunday. Shakeout, make sure you get
Are you looking back at the old game at this point, or are you looking more ahead?
Because you still want to grade the game. You still want to grade it. Okay? You just don't want to leave it as, because some people, they may need that. You may want to watch the film because well, this team may play the same exact defense, so we need to do something a little different. You may have done this in this game. You should have done something else, and I'm going to show you what you did wrong. So we still breaking down the film. So we got to break down the film on Monday. After that, we're off Tuesday. Typically during the playoffs, guys still come in. So it's really not it's an off day, but it's not an off day. Because again, everything becomes hyper-focused now. Because there's no, we lose, we can come back the next week. You lose, you're done. So Tuesday, majority of the guys are in the building. It's not you need to be there, but guys are in there watching film. Guys are in there getting treatment because they want to make sure that when they come back to Wednesday, that they're ready to go, that there's no lag in our preparation. Because typically when you had a day off, you come back Wednesday, you kind of sort of fighting your way through, kind of getting yourself ramped up for practice. No, during the playoffs, you want to hit the ground running.
One thing that dawned on me as I was reading this article, these coaches are working literally around the clock, right? It's what you always hear. Some of them might even they have a pull-out bed where they can sleep, just so they can grab some sleep and then be ready to get up and start this. How hard is it for a player? Because I think it's certain, but that there are times in this article where they're talking about your brain just gets fried, right? There's only so much you can throw at me before my brain just is going to block. It's saturated, right? I can't take on anymore. You might have the greatest things that you're trying to tell me at a certain point, but if I've been sitting there for 3 hours or whatever, I don't know if I can absorb it. So was that hard for you sometimes to try to pick up all these great things? Like, hey, we watched film for 5 hours and we found all these things, and now I got to tell you how to do it. Was that hard sometimes?
I don't think it was. It wasn't hard because, again, it's not about what we're doing, is why we're doing it. Why are we doing this? Why do we have extra film time and extra practice as well? Because we're in the playoffs. So you don't look at what we're doing, it's the why. Why are we doing it? So the why is bigger than the what. So whatever we're doing it for a reason. So I don't think guys ever got to a point where they were like, at least not on the teams that I played on, where they were saying, man, this is too much. Like, because nobody thinks that way. It's like, okay, if this is what you're going to give us, we're going to make sure we know it all, because you're trying to put us in the best position to win a football game. I would be doing you, myself, and the team a disservice if I look at that sort of nonchalant and say, man, we've been doing this, for the last 4. No, if it takes 4 more hours, we're gonna do it, because if we don't and we lose, that's it. We're going home.
There were all these details, such as Sean Payton putting the room at 68 degrees.
No, they would do that all the time.
So
Keep 'em up.
so it's cold enough to where supposedly your brain works best or
Mhm.
something when it's 68 degrees. That's what he read somewhere, so that's what he went with. But there was all of these things. So it maybe props used to
Mhm.
drive home a point. There were meetings with obviously the offense, the defense, special teams, and then the big group meetings. So
And you break up meetings too, like
yeah.
you
So
don't
how many
keep 'em
how many like you were a special teams guy with the Titans
Uh-huh.
especially. So what was your day like going from room to room in the meetings? Take me through a day, a Wednesday or a Thursday.
Come in 6:30, 7:00 in the morning. Breakfast. I usually like getting my workout done later in the day after practice.
So you're still lifting weights.
You still lift. It's not like you're still lifting weight, but it's not like, oh, we're lifting hard.
Maintenance
It's the
kinda, yeah.
maintenance. So I would get that in after practice, something quick. But meetings at 7:30, 7:45, somewhere around there. And that's a special teams meeting. So special teams meeting started, usually lasts for about 30 to 45 minutes. And then after that, we have a team meeting. Then a team comes together, and then the game plan is, this is the scouting sort of moment of the meeting, the team meeting, where you put the marquee players on, you give the stats or the metrics of where this team is good, where they have some deficiencies, who are their star players, stuff like that. Who are the refs potentially for this game? So all of that we're going over. That's in team meeting. And then they show like more plays of our opponent. They'll show specific plays of our opponent, maybe 5 or 6 plays, both for offensive, for defensive, and special teams. Then after that, we break into offensive and defensive meetings. And then from the offensive defensive meeting, which are installation meetings. So the offense is being installed, not the whole offense, just first and second down is being, or play action is being installed the first day, which is Wednesday.
Okay.
After the team meeting, after the not position meeting, but the offensive defensive meetings, which last for those meetings because they're going through everything. Those meetings can last for about an hour to 2 hours.
Wow. So you have a team meeting, then an offensive meeting with all the offenses, and then you go to your
then you got a breakdown meeting.
Yeah,
then
just
you got
with your position group.
just with your position, and then you go to lunch.
That's all this is before lunch?
Yeah, all of this is before lunch.
I thought it was 7 o'clock at night.
No. All of this
by now, you guys.
All of this is before lunch, and then
you haven't even gone out to the practice field.
We hadn't even gone out.
Yeah.
Then we go out for After that, we go out for a walkthrough.
Okay.
So after the meetings, we go out for a walkthrough, and then after that, we come in and eat lunch, and then depending on the coach, we may have just a quick breakdown meeting. But typically, we go from lunch to on the field. We're on the field for, back then, it's about an hour 45, 2 hours. Then we would come back in and watch more film. So you're talking about another hour to 2 hours of more film. And that's not counting the film you got to take home and watch.
Wow.
So it's just constant film watching, familiarizing yourself with your opponent, even if you already know them. Because what happens is, we may have seen that team early in the year, the 4th game of the season. They may be a different team now.
Yeah.
So we got to scout the team they are now.
Different guys are hurt. Different guys are healthy.
Absolutely.
Different things are working for them. Yeah.
That takes a lot. So we're in there from some guys, like the quarterbacks, for instance. They're in there from 5:30 to about 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's a long day. Because I look
at
quarterbacks like coaches.
Did you think that, and we'll break after this, because my brain's starting to get fried thinking about all this, and then we're going to get into some of the fun stuff in the next segment. But you played for a lot of different coaching staffs. Were some staffs better than others at being able to teach it smoothly, where you're not sitting there going, man, I don't get it. I got to go back home tonight and got to go back through this. Like, were some guys really good at saying, boom, 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 this is what we need from you?
Yeah, I don't think there was one person necessarily better.
So
than
you're
the
saying there's
other.
a standard. You don't
Yeah,
make
there's
it
a
unless you're
standard.
good at being
Exactly.
able to
There's
get
a-
into a big group of people
Exactly.
like that.
There's a standard that is set, especially in the playoffs. It may come off different, but it's not like the standard is lowered. It's just they do it a different way. So I don't think there was more. I don't think Heimerdinger was any more detailed than Cam Cameron or Neuheisel or Billick or any other OC out there. You know, I just think they did it, or Les Steckel. So I just think they all did it a different way, but they all were sticklers, especially Les.
Did they quiz you? Like, did you have
Oh
to be
yeah,
ready?
they would quiz you.
Derek, on this play, where do you need
Yeah,
to
they
be?
would quiz you.
Yeah. So you had to be
Steckel
ready.
would do it.
Yeah.
Heimerdinger would do it. Billick didn't so much do it. He maybe did it to the younger guys. Cam did it every so often. I don't think New ever really did it, but they all had a standard.
Segment, we're going to get into fun stuff. We'll tell you a story about what Sean Payton did to get his team motivated to play Josh Allen and the Bills and the theme behind it. So it's a theme, and we're going to ask DMase what he remembers about things like that, where you get the team on the same page with a mindset, a motivational mindset. It's some pretty good stuff. 615-737-1025. You want to add to this? You want to ask DMase about something like this? If you happen to have read this article, or if something sparks this, want to hear from you. Like you're a football coach, ask DMase these questions. 615-737-1025. We're back with more of DVD right after this. Now Connor Newt has touched the chord. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Just the original. You know, there's a bunch of sequels. Some of them are good. Some, the original is the one.
You're
the
not
Raiders,
a fan of you're not a fan of the other ones?
I'm a fan. I love Indiana
Okay.
Jones. I'll watch them, but the first one is still the standard. It's
Last
the best.
Crusade is my favorite.
It's
the third
fine.
one.
It's not
Harrison
as good.
Ford
None of them
was-
touched the first one. None of them.
Was the best.
Indiana Jones. Speaking of movies, we're gonna talk. We're more about on our Ask DMase segment. We're talking about preparing for a playoff game, and the great article that Seth Wickersham wrote, where he was basically embedded with the Broncos for a couple weeks. And this is not really about the Broncos or Sean Payton. It's just how the game works behind the scenes. I'm just fascinated with it because it's access that we don't always get, right? So this is a really good piece of journalism. So don't mistake this. We're like, hey, are we in Denver? No, this is not about the Broncos.
No, not at all.
But one of the things, and I think anybody who's played for a team, you love the themes of how do you get everybody on the same page? How do you get everybody really at the peak edge of being ready to play together in a big game? And so it some of this, it may be a little bit silly, but a lot of teams do it, and it seems to work. It's like we talked about with Michael Jordan. How would he psych himself up? He would just come up with some reason. Sometimes it was true. Sometimes it was half true. Sometimes it wasn't true at all. But he would find a way to just feel disrespected by the other team. And that would get him that chip on the shoulder that he needed. So coaches try to do that. They try to get their whole team, push those right buttons. So Sean Payton, when they were playing Josh Allen and the Bills, through the game plan, one of the themes of the game plan was the Bills defense and the Bills in general have struggled against teams that play with tempo. And so he wanted, especially in the conditions at Mile High Stadium, he wanted to play a high tempo game. And as we know, it turned into a classic game. The Bills and Broncos went right down to the wire, and the Broncos outlasted them barely. They were controversial. It was a great football game. But his theme was, we want to deprive the Bills of oxygen, not just because of the high altitude, but with the pace of the game. And so how is he going to drive this point home? Well, the first thing he did was he ordered like 100 oxygen masks. And of course, you've got these people on the staff that their job is to go get whatever you need to get them, right? Like you don't know what he's going to ask you to get. So he's like, hey, Joe, yeah, coach, what do you need? I need you to go get me 100 oxygen masks. And you can't say, well, coach, where do I get? You can't say that. You just have to say, okay, coach.
I'll find them.
And then he goes and finds them. So he passes them out, and then he gets somebody on the staff to put together a movie clip. This is where the movies come in. And he wants to drive this point home. So he gets a clip from the movie Everest. I'm not sure if anybody has seen this movie. It's a really good movie. But you don't even have to have seen the movie to get the premise. And so it's a scene where there's a climber of Mount Everest. He's actually a guide, and he's stuck at the top of the mountain. And his legs are freezing. He's out of oxygen, and he can't get down the mountain. And so in the movie, it's very dramatic. It's very sad. He calls his wife to tell him he's stuck up there. He's not going to be able to make it back down the mountain. So it's a tearjerker kind of moment. But so Sean Payton makes it about that's Josh Allen and the Bills. So not only does he play the movie clip, but he has his people come up with a way with AI or whatever to superimpose Josh Allen's jersey number, and they make the character look like Josh Allen. That it's Josh Allen on the top of the mountain who can't breathe. And he's saying over and over, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And his wife is on the other end of the phone, but it's not Keira Knightley who's playing the character in the movie Everest. It's Josh Allen's wife.
Because she's an actress.
I forget her name off the top of my head. But so now he's driving this point home. We're doing this. We want to put the Bills into that position where they can't breathe. We're going to be so powerful. We're going to up the tempo, and they will wilt before we do. So I thought, that was just a brilliant thing. Did that make a difference in the game? I'm sure the Bills had their same kind of thing that they were doing. to try to motivate their guys. But it's really interesting where you get all your entire team on the same page with that. So I was curious if you ever had what was the equivalent for you guys? Did you guys do that sort of thing?
Yeah, we did it, especially, in every coach they got to find sort of innovative ways to capture their players because they understand it's just like any sport, really. It's a long season and for football, it's a long week.
It's a grind.
It's a grind. So you got to have something that sort of that ties your message, the message you want. And a lot of people are visual. So sometimes you just can't get up there and start talking because half of the room you may have, but then the other half is like, well, what is he like? I really can't picture what he's saying. But what I think everybody can picture if they actually see it, if they see it, then the coach after that sort of expounds upon what they saw or explain. And I've had those have been my situations, whether it was Jeff Fisher here, especially when Remember the Titans came out. That was huge. And everybody knows you come in the stadium, there was always a clip from Remember the Titans on the Jumbotron. And it was great because it gave guys like that motivation. It was just like that one thing, and it gives you that extra boost. It was like a 5-hour energy drink. It just gave you that boost and you were ready to go. So we would do those before the game because, and when I mean before the game, I mean the night before the game. Because before the game, even though there are some great speeches said or some words said, everybody's really sort of in their own zone. And we appreciate that and we respect that. Even though we come together as a team and break it down, we still respect and understand that everybody has their own zone that they're in. But the night before the game, that's not the case.
Okay, so it's more effective the night before the game.
Exactly.
Than the day of the game.
It's more effective the night before the game. So whether it was, Fisher bringing in Boone and
so tell that story because Remember the Titans. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It was out. It actually came out in the theater around the time that the Titans, changed from the Oilers to the Titans. It was really interesting timing. It's a great movie.
Yes, great movie.
And I'm sure it's been used in any number of locker rooms over the years because it's so well done. You just played a clip during the break. We were like, it got our goosebumps going. We're like, oh, I'm ready to play. But you actually brought the actual coach from that team, Herman Boone, out there, right? Jeff Fisher brought him in.
Brought him in, and he just talked about the movie and, some things that were maybe embarrassing a little bit, but he talked about the movie. He talked about his time and what he was trying to convey to his team and how he brought the team together and, what he saw in this team and everything else. But it was a good way to tie reality to a movie that we've seen that some of it may be true, but some of it is embellished. But to have the actual coach that the movie was made about, him and his team, there to explain everything, and then to watch clips, it was just like, I'm ready to run through a brick wall now. I'm ready to do this because Remember the Titans was all about becoming a team. Regardless of what your affiliation was, regardless of what your politics was, regardless of what your religion was, it was about bringing 52 guys together and a staff, and we all fighting for one common goal. And the movie even said, listen, we're going to learn. We may not like each other, but we're going to learn to respect one another. And if I respect you and you respect me, that's all you can ask for. We're going to go out and get the job done because there's one common goal. So when he brought Boone in, he talked about, guys was ready to go. It's like, okay, let's play.
So everybody walked out of there thinking, wow, that was really
absolutely.
something.
Because you're talking about an iconic figure in Boone, a movie that's one of the best sports movies ever. And you're talking about a team, Remember the Titans, us. This is us. So it almost was one of those things that was sort of embedded. It's just like they're talking about us.
So you think that made a difference? So for people that maybe when I say Herman Boone, we say Herman Boone, that's the Denzel Washington character, right?
Exactly.
So if you don't know, I would doubt. The movies we're a little removed from the movie now, but the movie, of course, is basically a segregated school that is now rezoned, and they have to blend the all-white school with the all-black school, and Herman Boone, Denzel Washington, is the coach. He's got to blend the coaching staff. So
Exactly.
bring some very separate, very different group of people together. It's a real life story, and that's what the movie is on. So do you think, I mean, does that give you an edge?
I think
it gives you an edge when the game is played?
It puts you in a frame of mind of us. It's us against everybody. That's it puts you in that frame. Now you're moving forward as one unit. Now it's okay. It's us moving forward. Then the next day, the day of a game, everybody's in their zone, and guys do give some good sort of speeches in a sense, some rah-rah speeches. But at that point, it's like I'm ready to go anyway. Now we've had situations where night before the game, Ed Reed has spoke, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, guys like that, even myself. And there's always a theme in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you try to, whatever theme you try to come up with, you try to make sure that it encompasses the team.
Yes.
A team aspect. It's not an individual aspect. It's a team aspect. I mean, Ray then told so many stories. And as you're listening to his stories, you're like, what is he talking about? Then as he gets to the end, you'll be like, oh, okay, I see what he means now. He told one about a seagull, him being in the water in Florida, out swimming in the ocean, and his seagull comes and all this other stuff. And we're like, where's he going with this? And then it comes out, it comes to the end. You're like, oh, okay.
So he was good. He was
effective.
I see
what he's talking about. You couldn't follow him early on, but then as he starts to get through the story and toward the end, it's like, okay, I see what he means. And then the next day, it's like,
not easy to do. Hold a room like that.
Absolutely, because you're holding a room for only 5 to 10 minutes, but it seems like an hour.
Yeah.
And then what you do is the next day you reiterate or you continue to pound what you said the night before. So now we're all on one mission, and that is to win the game in the fashion that we want to win it in.
Good stuff. I hope you guys enjoy. By the way, if you haven't seen Remember the Titans, Connor, let me just check. You've seen it, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Just so we did have a producer way back in the day, Ryan Porth. There were some movies. They're like, how in the world are you a sports talk person and you have not seen this movie? So you never know, but Connor is passing the test. But yeah, you need to see that if you have it. Like if you're that one person, get it on there. Get it on your list.
But even to now, and I know we got to go to break. Even now, listening, like if I hear a speech, especially like if it's one that deals with, and you and I talked about this off air. No matter how many times I listened to the Remember the Titans ones, I got goosebumps. I got emotional just listening to it. And I think the longer sort of you live life, you see moments like this, you really know what those moments meant.
I went for years and years. Like I enjoyed those moments, but as I get older, I almost appreciate those moments more. I feel like emotions well up inside of me even more now than it did back then. All right, when we come back, we have some questions on the text line for Ask DMase, and we'll wrap up the show. Another great week of shows here on DVD. 615-737-1025 if you want to duck in a question for DMase. Stay tuned. We're coming back to wrap it up here on DVD. All right, time to tell you about Twice Daily. Hey, the weekend's coming up. It's Friday night. You might be wrapping up a big, hard-fought work week, and it is time to look ahead. But you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, I forgot about dinner for the kids or for the family. Well, that's where Twice Daily's got all of your needs taken care of, and you can get it at a discount if you are a member of their rewards program. But if you are, for example, you need to just whip up a pizza. It's real easy. You can even get it delivered to your house through Twice Daily's reward program, and you can pick it up at the store if you'd like. And of course, there's all those great benefits, the discounts, the contests that you can enter, the sweepstakes. There's stuff that you can win. So when you stop at a convenience store, make it Twice Daily and do it repeatedly, and you're going to save a ton of money over time. It's Twice Daily and the rewards program. Take it from us here at 102.5 The Game. That's the way to go. Twice daily, fresh all day. All right, which of the 15 or 16 Spider-Man movies is this one?
I don't know. I just picked one. I just like Spider-Man.
This
I'm
is
gonna
the
say the
tune that actually
Spider-Man
goes
noir.
way back to the early cartoons. Here comes the Spider-Man. They've had some really good Spider-Man movies, but I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I know there's a new one coming out
Yes.
with Zendaya. Like it's there's 3 strands, right, of Spider-Man movies. And
I like the
I'm not even counting the Nicolas Cage, the noir one, or some that I think are really good. The animated, the Spider-Verse ones, those are really well done. But man,
The Tobey Maguire ones will always be my favorite.
those are your faves?
Yeah,
What
those
about
are
you,
ones.
Derek? What do you
Tobey Maguire.
like those? Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm partial to those for sure.
Yeah,
I've
those
enjoyed
were
them all.
Those were the ones at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Those
I
were
like
the ones when I was a
better.
kid.
Original.
Yeah, the ones now he seemed too much like a little kid, or
Yeah.
I just don't.
They're good.
And I
like
like
they're
him.
still good,
I like
yes.
him. But and Zendaya is good, but I'm with you. If I had to choose one, of course they're all in the last movie, right?
Mhm.
They brought them all in there because it's the expanded,
It's like the Spider-Man
the multiverse.
yes.
Oh man, the multiverses and
Didn't they do another movie with a multiverse?
They've done a few.
Gosh, I forget.
oh,
what-
don't even watch if you don't like the multiverse. Don't even watch the Spider-Verse one because they got an infinite number of Spider-Man characters. Or
It's hard to keep up
spin-offs.
with
It is
now.
hard to keep up. It's good though. It's
Yeah.
good.
Spider-Man's good.
We have a couple of questions from the
Mhm.
Ask DMase text line here. One is this texter said he has had a discussion with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks he's crazy, which is, we've
Par
all
for the
been there.
course,
We've all been
yes.
there. She said, if you're on a plane and the pilot is incapacitated,
Mhm.
if you got on the headset and listened to the air traffic control, could you land the plane?
Okay, is it a big plane?
It's a big plane.
With how many? Like a lot of passengers?
It doesn't say here, but you tell me. Like, what do you think would be easier, a small
don't-
plane or a big plane?
I don't think any. I think both of them would be very difficult. But I tend to believe if someone was on the other end of the microphone or the other end of the headset telling me exactly what to do, because everything is labeled in there, telling me exactly what to do. I believe I could land a plane. I think I could.
You think you could do it?
I'm not saying it'd be the
Like,
best landing
but
in the
it's-
world, but we
right.
would survive.
We'll get it done.
Yes.
Man, I've never thought about that hypothetical. Like,
Man,
you
that is
have to do it.
scary.
Like, you
Goodness.
have to do it. Like, let's say, like, however many people are on the plane, they're like, Derek, you've got to do it. You're the only guy that we have hope. None of us want to do it.
Mhm.
You got to do it.
But I
like,
think
I think
because-
that would motivate me. Like, okay,
I'm doing
it's me
it.
or nothing.
Yes.
Like, that would hopefully lock me in and give myself the best chance. And then I better have somebody on the other end that knows how to explain.
Hey, I need a
Okay, see
co-pilot. I
see
need a
that-
co-pilot.
See that button over there, that red one? Hit it. You know, like, I need instructions.
But if you're doing a big plane, you would need someone else. You would
Yeah.
need someone else.
That
So if
would
it was
help.
a smaller plane and everything was labeled, I think I could land it. Yes.
okay,
I think I could
okay.
land it. Absolutely.
I believe it.
I don't want to be in that situation, but I think if I had to be in that situation, then yeah, I could land it. Yeah.
Would you sweat like the guy from Airplane?
Absolutely.
Stryker.
Absolutely. You would be, I wouldn't hear
Oh, yeah.
anything but what was being said over the headsets.
Yeah.
That is it.
Oh man, that is a funny scene in Airplane because that kind of happens. Although at least he was a pilot at some point. Here's another one. This texter, he enjoyed the discussion on Remember the Titans.
Mhm.
He said Denzel can fire anyone up, even if he's just chewing gum. I believe that Denzel is that good, no question. He said though. He also said, "Hey, great job also in that movie by Trevor Lawrence playing Sunshine."
I think
Sunshine.
when Trevor Lawrence, when everybody saw him at Clemson that first year, that was the first thing people
Oh,
said. He was
no,
Sunshine.
yeah.
It was Sunshine from Remember the Titans. There you go.
Joey from Bellevue says Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Avengers, Doomsday will be epic. You mean there's another Avengers coming out?
There will be as
Oh,
long
wow.
as we keep paying to watch them.
Yeah, that's the problem. I can't resist. Oh boy. 615-737-1025. Big weekend coming up. The World Cup, 2 quarterfinals tomorrow. 2 quarterfinals have been played this week.
Mhm.
If you missed it, Spain won today, 2-1 over Belgium. So I don't know how we feel about that. Belgium looked pretty good. They were right in it. The game-winning goal was scored in the final 5 minutes or so.
Mhm.
So they hung with Spain. Spain's as good as anybody. I don't know how does that change anybody's feeling about the
Nah,
USA?
No,
Because
not at
there's
all.
been a lot of fallout. Some of the former players, it's not like those guys ever won the World Cup, but
Mhm.
they're, needless to say, without really getting on it, they've been critical of some of the players and how they just failed to deliver their best
Mhm.
in the big moment. Like the meltdown in that game
Yeah,
was
and I
still
think-
very disappointing.
I think
to watch.
that's why you have so many, or the ones that are speaking out that are former, players. That's the part they're disappointed in, because it's like y'all just fell apart. It wasn't like they probably didn't even see Belgium as being that much better than the U.S. national
Yeah.
team. But it's just the way y'all came out, and then Pulisic.
Yeah,
he ends
Pulisic,
up-
yeah, he is
Pulisic,
taking a lot of criticism.
He ends up, and I understand from this standpoint. I get both why he took himself out the game or they took him out the game, but I also see the other, when guys say, listen, this is all or nothing. You got to find a way. You got to play through. I was wondering, did they give him a shot before the game?
I
Or
don't know.
did they give him a shot at halftime or something? Because when did he injure his ankle? Was it
that wasn't
before?
until the second half, I thought.
Yeah.
Unless now he was battling a calf injury
Yes, he was
So
hurt
that-
really the whole game.
the whole tournament, really,
Yeah.
because he sat out the second half of the
Mhm.
first game. He didn't play in the second game.
Mhm.
So I don't know what was bothering him more, but he had the moment where he got kicked and he went down and then he limped right after that. In the I think that was a second separate injury. I don't know if maybe it was related. I don't know if it was the same leg,
Mhm.
but either way, it was just the worst day to have
An injury like that.
an
But
injury
then
like that. And
the way
he
you
wasn't playing
respond,
well. Yeah.
but the way you respond in interviews afterwards, it was almost like nonchalant.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
think
And that
that's
bothered
what really
people.
bothered people.
And it wasn't like his teammates were all like, that just wasn't him. He's our guy. We want him to get back. It seemed to be revealed like they're not the intangibles.
Exactly.
That
things that they
underlying, like, do you
need.
want him in the trenches in the foxhole with you? That seemed to be a question.
Exactly.
A question.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. Well,
But they admit he's the most talented guy they
Yeah.
have. So that's always a dilemma for a team, right? We talk about this all the time.
but
It's really nice when the guy's perfect. Your best player is your hardest worker. Your team guy. But sometimes you're trying to figure out, how do I get this talented guy to buy in?
and sometimes
If he doesn't
on
naturally have that.
exactly. Sometimes on teams, the most talented player isn't the player that everyone looks to. And I know that may be hard to kind of visualize, but just because you are the most talented doesn't mean you are the guy that when it comes to those foxhole moments that we're looking to. We're looking to the guy who's the most leadery, that have the most leader qualities in the game. That's what we're looking for. And if your talent matches that, then that's great. But sometimes the talent doesn't match the leadership. So we look for you when there's talent, yeah. But when we need something or we need someone to look to get us going, we look to the leader. And sometimes the leader isn't the most talented guy.
Our text line also, Josh says in the interview too, this is, again, it shouldn't always be about just what you say to the media. You can just not be good at that, but sometimes it does reveal. He said something to the effect of, well, now we can all rest.
Yes, he said, I can rest now. And it's like, huh?
That's not what you want to hear.
You
You want to
don't
hear
wanna
the
say
guy
that.
says,
Yes.
dang it, that was a big moment. We didn't get it done. It's on me. Like that's what you want to hear from your leaders, right?
And you didn't hear from him. So,
No.
unfortunately, now it has
Rest.
backfired.
You got 4 years, man.
Rest. You can rest 4 years for 4 years.
Oh,
man,
man.
come on. But yeah. So
all right. So we've done another. We got through the show without Adam. We had some great movie moments from Connor. We found out that he enjoys the 80s movies. Pretty
Love
good.
the 80s movies. It's all about it.
tomorrow is my son's birthday.
Hey.
He
Happy
will be
birthday.
24. Happy birthday, Derek. Early birthday. What would you call it? Early birthday or pre-birthday? Happy pre-birthday.
early birthday.
It's birthday eve.
Birthday. Yeah, birthday eve. There we
He's
go.
on birthday
Happy
eve.
birthday eve to my lovely, wonderful, handsome, smart, beautiful, everything son, Derek. So,
all right. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the soccer or whatever you're up to this weekend. There's always some great baseball going. Yeah, I know the Mets are terrible. I know. But I'm still there. I'm still a baseball fan. We'll talk to you Monday. Adam will be back with us, and we will count down. Again, we're getting a little bit closer to training camp. The dog days are summer. We're going to have some fun. So make sure you tune in Monday at 3 o'clock.
be loved, love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful weekend. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we will not forget about you. We will be back on these airwaves starting at 3 p.m. on Monday. Along with Adam, he will be back to be the point guard of the show once again. And as I always say, we're going to be talking and
You go be listening.
peace.